get a job, you get a job, you get a job. No, it doesn't happen that way. Guys, those things do not work. Only you, magician. Well done, sir. Clap for yourself. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So nice to have you stop by to click on this video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Marina. I live in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and on this channel I share information to make your settling into Canada as seamless as possible. To my returning subscribers, welcome. Always so nice to have you here. As you can tell from the title of the video, I am finally going to be talking about this. Like, this conversation is one that I have postponed for the longest time, just because I enjoy some of the banter that I see on social media where you have people arguing about things that they have absolutely no idea about. And I thought, you know what, this is a new year. People are going to be reigniting their job switches or job search journeys, and it would be nice for us to debunk some of the messed up information that is out there, just so it can reduce the pressure on people who are currently job seeking or potential job seekers. Disclaimer: I am a recruiter, and everything that I'm going to share in this video is on the basis of my experience. I have worked in HR for more than 10 years. I am currently specialized in recruiting, and from what I have seen so far being a recruiter is what's going to inform the conversations that we're having today. You're more than welcome to disagree with me, but this is a respectful community and I would ask you to disagree respectfully. And please bring facts. Don't argue on the basis of things that you've heard on TikTok, because half of the people who give advice there are not HR professionals and not recruiters. So that's why I'm talking about this today, to finally debunk some of the lies that are on the internet. If this is the kind of content that interests you, then definitely keep watching. The first one that I hear a lot is about the resume, and there's so many conflicting information about how long should the resume be. But I hear predominantly TikTok recruiters, TikTok career people telling people that their resume has to be one page or the ATS is going to screen it out. That's a lie. Your resume does not have to be one page. It takes more than 6 seconds for us to look at your resume. Just saying. If you're a fresh graduate and you have not had any prior experience, especially if you're getting into an area where you have never had prior experience in, I see why your resume can be one page. It makes sense for your resume to be one page in that case. But if you're applying for like an intermediate to senior level kind of role where you have had maybe 10 years and upwards experience, nobody expects you to condense 10 years of your work experience on one page, because there's this magical ATS that's going to screen it out. And that's something we're going to talk about as well. So your resume can be more than one page. Your resume can be 3 pages, depending on the level of the role that you're applying for. The ask with the resume is that you keep your resume relevant to the role that you are applying for. If you have work experience that are in completely unrelated field and you don't have skills and competencies that you're transferring from that field into the field of the role that you're applying for, then you're more than welcome to leave it out. Some people worry about gaps. What if there's a gap in my work history? It totally depends. We understand that life is happening. For some people, they take breaks to cater to their family. Some people take breaks because of maternity leave. Some people take breaks for whatever personal reason. Nobody is going to penalize you from the get-go that there's a gap on your resume. If that totally bothers you and you don't want to, I have seen people explain their work experience in such a way that they explain up to maybe like 10 to 15 years back. And if they have more years of experience, they use a one-liner. So say, for instance, you started working in 2000, you're applying for a role that is asking for maybe 3 to 6 years experience, and you feel you can apply for that role. You can explain your work experience up to 10 years and use a one-liner to say 2000 to wherever it is that you started describing your job description for, and say, I worked in multiple roles across different levels. One line, especially if the work that you did in that period is not related to the work that you're asking for. So there are many ways around these things. There are many ways around presenting your work experience so that it is relevant to what you're applying for. But to say it has to be one page or you'll be screened out is not correct information. And that brings me to the next one, where they say it takes 6 seconds. I don't know where that started from, but I've heard that number a number of times across social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, where people say recruiters use 6 seconds. Do you know what 6 seconds is? I have barely finished reading your education and 6 seconds is off. I want to believe that the intention where this started from is to get people to put the most relevant information on their resume. But I can tell you as a recruiter that it takes more than 6 seconds to screen a resume. What you succeed in doing when you do that is that you skin your resume down so much that you're cutting out relevant information because you feel like it has to be one page and it will take me 6 seconds to look at it. No. If you have experience, if you have skills and competencies that are relevant to the role that you're applying for, please indicate all of that in your resume, present it properly, and make sure that it is catchy in a way that the recruiter will look at it and they would want to speak to you. So that's the first one. The resume can be more than one page. It takes us more than 6 seconds to look at the resume. So relax, reduce the pressure on yourself. The second thing I'm going to talk about, some of you are going to hate me for this one, but the ATS is not as magical and as sophisticated as all of you make it to be. The ATS is not this magical genie that just comes out and screens all the candidates and say, you get a job, you get a job, you get a job. No, it doesn't happen that way. The interface of the ATS system is very similar across different kinds. Some of them are more sophisticated than others, where they have like advanced features that just makes filtering. That's what's happening at that point. It's filtering at that point. It makes it a little easier. So what happens for small to medium-sized organizations that have this, they can only have like a basic ATS that collects the resumes, and the person who posted the job can go there and pull a list of all of the applicants who have applied on that role. The secondary filtering is done by a human being. It is done by a human being. That's where I come in. That's what I get paid to do, to do actual screening for resumes. There are basic questions that is fed into the ATS to filter for candidates, and a lot of them are not technical questions. It is not at that point that technical questions are asked. I understand that this differs across industries. If it's an organization that hires only technical people, only the same kind of people, then they have the flexibility to feed it a little more specific questions to what they're looking for. A little more specific to like certification, to years of experience, to technical skills, right? So it depends on the industry. If you're applying to like an organization that has multi-business lines, where it is not only engineers or only project managers or only business analysts or only technical people you are hiring, there's only so much technical information you can feed into an ATS at the point of filtering. The questions that I see that are common across many different ATSs is questions around legality to work, is questions around location, is questions around open to relocation, or things around sharing your details with like third-party organizations, especially if the organization relies on third-party organizations to conduct things like criminal record check or all of those back check processes. So at that point, they are basically general screening questions that border on your legality to work, your ability to do the work from the location that has been specified. That's what happens at that process. Like I said, if it's a specific industry where they are hiring the same kind of people, then yes, they have the room to ask more specific and technical questions from the get-go, especially if they experience a lot of high volume applications in those kind of roles. So I see where, depending on the kind of ATS, to give you the room to put more specific questions, but that is not general across board. The ATS is basically an application filter. So that's what happens at that point. For those of you who do your resumes and then add that additional blank page where you have written some words and you white it out so that ATS will screen you, like, how's that looking? Guys, those things do not work. Those things do not work. The basic way to get your resume seen by a recruiter is to apply. Number one, apply for the jobs that you are qualified for. You will not have to make up anything on your resume so that you are lifting keywords. Are keywords important? Yes. It tells me, who's looking at the job description and comparing it with your resume, that, oh, there are similarities between these two. This person has done what I'm looking for. But to say you will now put the keywords on a blank sheet and write it out and all of those magical things that people do, those things do not work. Apply for the jobs that you're qualified for. Apply for the jobs that you have experience in. If you're doing a switch, explain it in a cover letter and then highlight the transferable skills that you have that you're going to be bringing into this new role. Just read the job description. If you read the job description, you will know exactly what the recruiter is going to be screening you on. If you read the job description, you will know what skills and competencies are needed for that role. If the job description tells you this is what I'm looking for, you best believe that's what we're screening you on. So if you read the job description and you are not qualified for the role, that's where you will need to lie. That's where you need to do all these theatrics because you're trying to beat the ATS. Beating the ATS is one thing. It's another thing for you to be able to defend what's on the resume. It's another thing for you to be able to provide backup. So for those of you who write those into your resume where you say, I improve overall company revenue by 400%, how? Is that information public? Is it information I can verify? Is the financial records of that organization public where I can go and check and see that, yes, the revenue increased 400% because of you, only you, magician? Well done, sir. Clap for yourself. Really? So whatever information you're putting on the resume, you want to make sure that it can be backed up, it is verifiable. Don't lie. And that brings me to my next point. For those of you who are copying job postings into ChatGPT and generating resumes and you think recruiters don't know, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You guys must think that recruiters live under a rock. For all of that information that is circulating on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, you do not think recruiters are on TikTok? Don't you think that there are recruiters on Instagram? Do you not think that we have Twitter accounts where somebody just sits down, makes a video to say, this is how to beat the ATS, copy the job posting, put it into ChatGPT, tell them to generate resume, and this is how you get the killer resume? Do you not think that me as a recruiter, I am online and I'm saying that as well? I belong to a couple of professional recruitment groups on LinkedIn, and it has become a running joke for people to just think that recruiters are so daft, they are so dense, they don't know anything. You submit anything and it will fly. I am not saying you cannot depend on help from whatever resource you want to use to generate a resume, but you have to give it that human touch that borders on your specific experience, the competencies that you bring. Your brain is not AI generated. So sometimes just sit down and think. You will know what to put on your resume instead of depending on AI. What you do not know is that if 3 different people put that same information into AI, chances are it will generate similar resumes for all of you. Then God forbid that 3 of you apply to the same job. Do you know how that looks when 3 people apply to the same jobs and their resumes are similar? This is something that I have hands-on experience with, so I have earned the right to call it out. Do not depend on AI alone to generate resumes for you. You are going to be shooting yourself in the foot. And then one other myth that I hear a lot, which I think is funny, is that the recruiter, the HR person, doesn't know anything about the role. It's the hiring manager you should aim to impress. And I laugh because you don't know that your resume, your application has to go through the recruiter before it gets to the hiring manager. Again, the ATS filters, the recruiter screens, and then makes recommendations to the hiring manager. So if you do not get past the recruiter, you best believe the hiring manager is not seeing that application. Let me tell you what you guys don't know about how the recruitment process works. There are many stakeholders involved. When you see a job posting, it is generated from the job profile that is attached to a role. Every role has a job profile. That's why we determine what is this person going to do, what kind of experience will somebody need to function in this role, what is fair to pay. Compensation is done using many, many different parameters. Competition, the market, the economy. That process of creating the job profile is done by human resources and the hiring managers. They all have roles to play. So human resources is involved in creating and evaluating jobs to determine what the profile is. While I, as a recruiter, may not understand the everyday functions of the role, I understand the expectations of the role because human resources is involved in creating job profiles. So your recruiter is not clueless. For those of you who, when you have phone interviews, for companies that do phone interviews as first stage of screening, some of you treat phone interviews anyhow because you believe that I'm talking to somebody who does not understand the technical things. Look, technical jargons can be taught. Company fit, culture fit, communication, empathy, the relationship building side of things, those things cannot be taught like technical stuff. So if you're only going to hold on to the technical knowledge that you have because you come with this technical knowledge so you don't have to care about anything else, no. in companies, you are going to be doing technical stuff, but you're going to be working with human beings. Your stakeholders are human. It is not all of your stakeholders that are technical. So you will need to be able to communicate in a way that is not technical stuff you're saying. So look, all round, I'm just saying that don't disregard your recruiter. Do not disregard the expertise. Do not disregard the knowledge that your recruiter holds, because they are the ones who determine if you will progress in the hiring process. If I call you, I'm trying to clarify stuff and you're dismissive because you think I don't know the technical part of things, I'm going to label you a misfit, because I'm judging you at that point, not on the basis of your skills alone, but overall fit with the organization, with its missions, how you're going to work with the stakeholders that you will be dealing with. At that point, I know the stakeholders, you don't. Overall, your recruiter is aware. They know exactly what you're getting screened on. They know what they're screening you on. Keep that at the back of your mind for the next conversation you're going to have with your recruiter, so that you don't end up shooting yourself in the foot. Okay, guys. This video was supposed to be shorter than this, but I just thought I would come and explain in depth some of these things that you have run with that are not helping you, that may be limiting you in your job search. And we want that to be different. I have had a burning desire in my heart to have like a session where I'm going to have a roundtable in a physical space with people to just look at their resumes and understand the reason why it is not getting the kind of visibility and the kind of traction that it should be getting for the experience and the education that some of you bring. And I'm hoping that this year I can finally do that. If that's something you'll be interested in, if you're in Saskatoon and its environs, and you'll be interested in having like a day where we can just sit down and look at resumes and correct the common mistakes, just so that it can start to have more visibility than it probably is already getting. If that's something that you'll be interested in, please leave a comment below indicating that you're interested, and depending on the uptake, I'll come back with more information on next steps. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please do well to share it with other people. You just might be saving somebody some time, saving them the stress of focusing on things that don't make sense and the things that don't matter in the grand scheme of things. If you would like to see more videos like this, please indicate in the comment section if you have specific questions or specific areas that you would like me to talk about going forward. Please leave that in the comment section as well, and I'll be sure to get to them. Thank you again for watching this video, and for my folks around the Canada area, stay safe, stay warm, stay hydrated, and until I come your way in the next one, it's your girl as always, Marina, saying thank you and have an awesome day. Bye guys.